Welcome back to the channel. I'm Starfish, and today I'll be doing some commentary over my sequence break video, What if Claire and Chris had all the keys in code Veronica X? I'm excited to go back and provide some context on some of the questions that were in the comments. If you want to watch this video without commentary, I'll put a link to it in the description. Let's dive in. Pickups and routes are unavoidable. Like, comment, subscribe, and enjoy. So one of the parts of the process here of breaking the sequence of a game is that you can't simply give yourself all the keys and just go to the shortest pathway to the end of the game. In Resident Evil games, or any game for that matter, there's items or things you need to do in order for the game to progress. In some of the older Resident Evil games, there's not as many as you would think, but in Code Veronica, there are 6 items we have to pick up in the Claire Rockfort section of the game. And then after that, there aren't any items that we specifically have to pick up. We can use all of the keys that we give ourselves. If you want to watch me kind of break down a little bit of the process, if you click on my live streams on my YouTube page, there's a stream of me starting to try to figure out what items need to be used. I start this run by giving myself the gold Lugers, not only as my weapon, but because they'll be used as a key later when we get into the palace. And I've also filled up my inventory with all of the items that are needed upcoming. And one advantage of filling my inventory is that when we talk to Steve here in a minute, he tries to give us a handgun, but he's unable to do so because we have no inventory space. Here, I just wanted to have some fun and show off the golden Lugers because they're not really a weapon that Claire gets to use. So it was pretty cool. They pack a mean punch, but they are pretty slow. That's another favorite thing with sequence breaking, is that we can try out different weapons. I even gave Rodrigo his hemostat at the beginning of one of my practice runs just to see if it allowed me to, and it worked. I played a little bit of this cutscene here because I actually, off screen when I'm playing the game, I use a tool that I created that allows me to edit my inventory in real time. So during certain door loads and things like that, and cutscenes, I'll be manipulating and preloading my inventory to make it seamless during gameplay as much as possible. So what's cool is that we actually have the padlock case, so we can run right to this door. We don't have to do the dog sequence or go into this little prison area. We can just roll, and that was really cool to see. Now, you might be wondering, why didn't we just go to the big iron gate where Steve just was and put the metal emblem in there, or the non-metal emblem that I have in my inventory? The game actually doesn't let us use it. If you try to go up, it just lets you inspect the object, or the keyhole. It says, would you like to use, or it needs an emblem-shaped object, but it doesn't let us use the object. One thing I found so interesting here with the metal detector is that by giving myself some of the items and weapons that you definitely would never have in this section of the game, they don't actually read them as metallic. So, for example, the golden Lugers are considered metallic, but this biohazard card isn't. The sniper rifle isn't. I think the linear launcher might or might not be. So it's funny that they clearly added those items later in the development process, but they don't have some kind of switch saying that they're magnetic for that reader. So it was so cool to take the sniper rifle through there and defend myself against the zombies that break through. In the future, let me know what you'd like to see in terms of sequence breaking or exclusive weapons I can use in the run, like a sniper rifle only run. Now here, the reason we're doing this section is because our first required item is the fire extinguisher. We can't go through the big iron door and use this emblem if we don't physically pick up the fire extinguisher. We don't have to go put the fire out at the beginning or get the case or anything like that. We just have to pick up the fire extinguisher. And we can't do that unless we go into that room where Steve is and power up the switch to allow us to open this shutter. So I get my gold Lugers, and we're about to pop some zombies. I love the double-handed weapons in this game. They're really fun to use, especially how Claire will spread her hands like that so you can shoot a zombie and a barrel at one time. Very fun. So, although we're never going to use the fire extinguisher in this run at this point, once we pick up that item there, that tells the game that we can move on. Now, what I've been learning doing sequence breaking in Resident Evil games is that when there is a particular moment like this where we have to pick up an item, there's typically a visual change on screen that lets us know that. For example, we come out here and there's zombies out here now. Later, we're going to see at the palace that we have to pick up a few items and then there's zombies out on the bridge that lead to the palace. In Resident Evil 3, when we get the lockpick, the map goes from day to night and we can progress. So there's usually some kind of visual on the screen that says, okay, you've went out, you did something, time has passed, and now there's a visual on the screen that's letting you know that. Like I said, a time of day switch or an enemy switch. So that's been very helpful, having that aha moment when I'm experimenting, because basically, my process is to give myself all the keys, like I said, try to do the shortest route, and then when I run into a roadblock, then I have to start to backtrack and start to pluck away, okay, what items can I get away with not using? So it's actually a really extensive process, and what I've found is that in Resident Evil games, it tends to be heavy during the beginning of the game where you have to find certain items, but by the middle and end of the game, there aren't really anything that we have to pick up. So I don't know if that's just a developer process thing or if there's just more work setting up the game at the beginning of the game. If you have any idea for that, why there's less flagged items in the later game, let me know, because I'm really not sure. My instinct is like, well, they put in more of the work at the beginning of the game and then start to build off of that work later on. Now, originally when I was testing, I went to the security base training facility to the right. Well, originally when I was testing, I tried to go to the plane first, honestly. At this point, I tried to book it right to the plane. I gave myself the 3 proofs, and it wouldn't let me insert the final proof that I get at the palace. So I backtracked, and I went ahead and physically went up to the palace and got the physical proof. Then it might be the Navy proof. Whatever the third proof you get is above the attic in the palace, above the bed, or the private residence, I should say. And then it would let me put that into the plane elevator, but it wouldn't let me activate the elevator. It was as if it wasn't being powered on. So then I started panicking and saying, okay, now I have to backtrack and figure out what items the game needs me to pick up in order for the plane to register. It wouldn't trigger the cutscene where Steve's there waiting for us by the plane. It would start the self-destruct sequence, for example, but it wouldn't start the 5-minute countdown timer. So I knew that there was like a something that didn't happen in the game that needed to happen. So I started backtracking. I started going to the training facility to physically pick up the proof over there. And I noticed when I came back to the palace, the zombies were here, which was a good sign. But I couldn't go down the 3 stairs when you enter the palace. It was weird. It was like I was properly on the map, but I couldn't physically click on the stairs to go down them. So I realized, okay, I'm going to have to come to the palace first and do things here before I can go to the training facility to get that proof. It was so strange. I get so frustrated when I'm so excited to power through the game, and then I realize that there's some kind of glitch that is preventing me. It's pretty overwhelming to figure it out, but it's very fun when you finally do. Very rewarding. So in here, I can give myself the silver key. I can give myself the piano roll, but I have to physically pick up the blue ant object. And that goes for the other room here too. So we're going to have to enter the code to unlock the door. And later, I'm going to go into that hallway there. And I believe I used the silver key to open that other room where you get the blue emblem on the floor. But that was just to burn the key, so I don't have to manage it in my inventory. I don't believe you have to go in that room whatsoever. You do physically have to pick up the blue ant object in the casino room up there. Side note, I think it's really beautiful that the music's playing right now from up above, but also the lightning's still going on, because I entered Alfred's office, but then I immediately turned away. So the lightning and rain is still being heard, and the piano music. So it really enhanced the atmosphere. This is where I start to switch to the linear launcher, and obviously it's fun to have this weapon outside of the final fight. This is where I burn the key, by the way. I don't even know if I go in the room. Yeah, it's just to clean up inventory. Not only was it fun just using this weapon you're not supposed to have anywhere else, it was really cool seeing the game in first person in spaces you're not supposed to. When we go down the submarine later, there's this sign on the wall. I'll remind it will remind me when I see it, but it's some kind of like work schedule or something, and it was so cool to see that. I think that's my number one complaint with Code Veronica, is that it's just like a lot of the environments are missing those small details of showing like information about people working in these spaces and living here, exit signs, warning signs, instructional materials. Like I guess because they switched to this these 3D live action backgrounds where you can see light reflecting and things rather than the pre-rendered backgrounds. Maybe there's limitations to that. But I just really craved in this game having more details instead of these empty gray spaces like the submarine area, like the plane, which I did think was cool, but still. And Antarctica, like you spend a lot of time in these very plain, lifeless spaces, in my opinion. So it was really cool to see that information on the wall that I don't believe you normally see. Just details about people working and living in these places. So yeah, fun getting that first person perspective, and obviously fun destroying every single thing with one shot with the linear launcher. I believe you can unlock the rocket launcher, but you can't unlock the linear launcher. Maybe you can unlock it for battle game. I'm not sure about those details though, so if you know, let me know in the comments. Very fun using certain weapons. I did find that if I give Claire the assault rifle and the submachine guns, at least in the Rockfort Island section, the guns don't make any sound. You can hear the bullet casings hitting the ground, but you can't hear the actual firing of the shots. Like I said, I was going to this this section when I realized I had to pick up the proof, but the problem was I was getting here and there were no zombies on the bridge or in the palace. There was just the bats, so there wasn't that change I was talking about where you're clearly seeing progression in the game by enemy changes. So I'd get up to Alexia and Alfred's rooms, but it didn't play the cutscene where Alexia or Alfred is dressed as Alexia, and she thinks there's someone in the corridor. It wasn't playing that scene. So it was letting me go up and grab the proof, but I could tell that I was most likely going to run into another issue because I could clearly see that the game wasn't changing. Flags weren't being marked. Yeah, like I said, this isn't one of my favorites, and it's mostly because of that reason. I don't really enjoy the environments too much in this game, or many of them. And because you're playing through the environments essentially twice as Claire and Chris, I just find the game a little long and slightly boring. It was fun doing this project, though. So if you are a big Code Veronica fan, let me know in the comments why. Because there's a lot to love about this game. This little cutscene would play where you hear Alexia, Alfred laughing, but that was it. It wouldn't play the next cutscene when you go up. So funny enough, you actually have to go immediately back down the stairs. So you're up here, it plays that cutscene, and then you have to go back down to trigger the zombies spawning. I love the little heartbeat thing. It makes the game more intense. So there they are, and that tells me, okay, a flag has been marked. The game has made a change, and now it lets me know I can progress. Didn't even expect to get that dodge there, but not gonna lie, it did feel good. Those guys are tricky, so it's nice to take them out with one shot. It's so funny as so this run is about 58 minutes, and 40 or 38 of that is literally just getting through Claire on the Rockfort Island section because of all these items we have to pick up. We have to get the fire extinguisher. We have to get the 3 proofs, and we have to get the 2 ant objects. This was a very cool room, or a space to look at first person. Like looking at this statue hanging by its neck and bleeding and stuff. You get to see parts of it as you're going through, but it's very cool to see things head on. Here's that cutscene I was looking for, but wasn't getting until I picked up the 2 ant objects and then reset the space by going down the stairs and back up. But yeah, I don't even know the percentage, but it feels like 80, I'd have to do the math, but like 80% of this run is literally just getting through Claire's first section, and you'll be dying laughing seeing how funny it is, how little you have to do in the rest of the game. Now, here's another funny thing I ran into when I was trying to figure out what I did and didn't need to do. I wasn't taking that silver key because I already had it. I already used it. I was fine. So the bed never crashed down. So what do you think happened next? Well, I go up, I grab the proof, and then I try to go down the ladder, and Claire is standing on top of that bed that's still up. So I'm stuck. I think I was able to go back up the ladder, but I couldn't go down fully into the room because I'm stuck on top of the bed. So it was very funny to see that, but I was getting very nervous. And then it also taught me, I guess I just never caught this as a kid, but you know, when you go up the ladder and you put the dragonfly key in, the carousel spins to move the ladder in the right position, and it never triggered in my brain that you're going up one ladder in one of the bedrooms and you're coming down the other bedroom. Like, I just never pieced that together as a kid. Did you guys notice that when you were playing? Like, some people are very observant and just pick up on those things, but a lot of those little changes, they go completely over my head as a kid. I'm just thinking about, like, how to fight enemies, how to survive, maybe read a couple documents, but it never once clicked to me that, like, oh yeah, obviously this thing just spun. You're going up one room and you're coming down the other. So for someone like me, I have to learn the hard way, where literally I have to break a game in half and get stuck in a room to be like, oh, I didn't realize that I'm going down to the other room. I just have to have things, like, clearly obvious. I basically learn from my mistakes. That's the best way for me to learn, and through experimentation. If you guys notice any other details that I haven't talked about, please drop them in the comments, because I'm obsessed with these games. I love learning all the little details. And at this point, I'm like, please, let this game just progress, because I was getting stuck. But at this point, I thought I had it pretty figured out, what I needed to do. But as you can see, I mean, we definitely are saving huge chunks of time by not having to physically go get the piano roll and go get the keys and come back. I think we get the gold key in the room with the painting, so we got to do the painting section. There's a lot of circling back. Here's another example where I'm playing a bit of the cutscene so I can start to preload my inventory to get ready for the military training base. And I have zero complaints about the cutscenes. I think the music in this game is by far collectively the best of any game. I think the cutscenes and the story are really interesting. It's just a lot of the zigzagging and backtracking that I didn't find very fun, specifically because of the environments. So we did save a huge ton of time. We get to go straight to the palace, get all of the keys around there, solve a couple puzzles, no biggie. And now we're just going to be leaving the palace and or the private residence. Sorry, I know, like, huge fans are going to be like, it's the private residence, it's the palace. I'm going to be mixing names up, I'm sorry. I don't have quite as much of experience in this game as I do other Resident Evil games. Love this area, love the music. So now we're going to be heading through, and we're going to start to work through the base. Luckily, we don't have to go down into the submarine yet. But there's something funny that happens with that, because you notice I didn't grab the steering wheel. So, just a little foreshadowing, get ready. I don't know why I did this, but a couple things here. I know why. I ended up on caution. You're like, how can this guy end up on caution when he literally has every key and every weapon? At least that's what I was saying to myself. So, a couple things. I wasn't prepared for the zombies to be here because I'm out of sequence, I guess. That was the first kind of mistake. But there's something strange about the tool I created for this game. So it lets me insert any key, any weapon into my inventory. And keys are perfectly fine. But there's something with if I have a weapon equipped and I start to put other things into my inventory, the weapon stays equipped, but the game thinks it doesn't have ammo for some reason, even though it does. So I'll go to shoot the weapon, and it's empty. So I have to go into inventory, unequip it, re-equip it, and it's fine. Another strange thing I've run into is with 2-slot weapons. In the actual code of the game, it doesn't actually consider it a 2-spot weapon. It considers it a 1-spot weapon and an empty space. So in my inventory system, let's say I put the assault rifle in my inventory. It says, okay, assault rifle's in slot 1, slot 2 is empty, and then whatever I have next for slot 3 and so on. If I try to put something in that slot, that second slot, it doesn't like crash the game or anything, but it makes I forget exactly what it does, but it makes the weapon unusable. See, there you go again. Like, when I start to use keys and do things, my weapon just doesn't fire. So it was interesting to see that that it would do that, where it doesn't treat it as two weapons. It treats it as one weapon and an empty spot. Side note, I was trying to shoot dogs with the sniper rifle. It's like damn near impossible. They're just too quick and sporadic. This is so sick, though. We just get to go right here, use the biohazard card. Now, this next part, I ran into a jam, and I came up with a clever solution. Because Alfred's about to shoot us with the sniper rifle. And you have to follow him through the whole training facility, introduce the Bandersnatch, grab the submachine guns. Well, guess what? I learned that if you just go straight down here, the game still thinks you're being chased by Alfred. Which I didn't even know you could come down here during that. And you're allowed to use the blue key card. So it actually saves a huge ton of time. That was like one of those moments where I felt proud about myself. I'm like, oh, that was a thinking on your feet, clever solution. But in the moment when you don't know that, it's just not obvious. Like, you think you just have to follow Alfred and run through the motions. I didn't even know it would let me come down here, let alone use the blue key card. And guess what? Steve's here! So it just skips all of that, but it still acts as if it happened. The game's happy. Steve has his submachine guns. I should have let it play to see what cutscene it actually plays. Like, is it the one where it's like, not a scratch on me? I'm sure whatever the one starts with, check it out. I don't know about you guys, but this is the area of the game where I get the most lost. Like, this training facility. Just because you have to go up certain elevators, use certain basement entrances and stuff. So I get very confused as Claire and especially as Chris with the damage to the building. I'd say this is the #1 section that I just don't really enjoy playing through because of that confusion. But then you get a scene like this where he has to literally kill his zombie dad and you're like, damn, this game is so good. I was running into a glitch where I would head back to the facility and do certain things, and then the door that you unlock where the tank is, and then you head out where the worm is, it wouldn't register that I unlocked it from the other side. Like, it reverted back to being locked. Luckily, I just created pathing that you don't have to run into that. You never have to come back here again as Claire. We're literally just here to grab this proof in this room. That's the only reason we're here. Thank you all for watching, and hope you enjoy the content. Go ahead and like, comment, and give me a subscribe for more content. I love making these videos. So this is where I have to do a shameful heal. Just like, I'm not trying to be on caution again, so I just topped it off. So that's it. We are literally here to pick up that proof. And now we're just going to head back and go back to the palace. It's funny, like I said, it would let me put the 2 proofs in that you get here and from the ground outside of the palace. It would let me insert those, but not the one that you get in the upstairs of the residence. At this point, I'm just crossing my fingers, like, please. I need Tyrant to show up. I need the self-destruct sequence to play. And most importantly, I need to get on this damn plane. Once I got to the plane, it was just a big sense of relief. Because, one, it's like, okay, I'm progressing and I'm having fun solving new problems like Antarctica and stuff. But I just had a feeling that this area was going to be really heavy. Because there's just not as much to do in the other sections of the game. Let alone if they're hard-coded or whatever into the progression. There's just less to do. So kind of like how I had to go up the stairs to the personal residence and then go back down. Similar thing here. The game's waiting for me to pick up that final proof here. And there's a cutscene that plays where Steve meets up with you. And there's planes that fly overhead. This is where I had to I was like, shoot, I have too much in my inventory. I have to clear out something to pick this up. Now, normally, the cutscene could start playing there, but I guess because I broke the sequence, I have to go into the palace here and then back out, and then the cutscene plays. There's weird little stuff that you have to do to kick the game's butt into gear. And here it is. When I finally triggered this cutscene, I screamed, like, let's go! My neighbors must hate me in my apartment here. Why is Starfish always screaming? What is he screaming about? There's such a high of, like, solving a unique problem like this. So here's that funny thing I mentioned. Check it out. Yahoo! Literally just gives it the old air spin. I was definitely had a good laugh about that. But then it hit me, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to circle back here after I put the bridge up. So is Claire going to be able to just do the air spin? I was thinking, probably not. I didn't mess around with the side pack. It wasn't really compatible with the tool that I made. And this is, by the way, I should have said this at the beginning. I'll put it in the description. This is the PS2 North American release. And I'm using PCSX2. And my tool relies on a feature called Pine, P-I-N-E, so it can read and write into PCSX2. It's pretty cool. There may be other trainers and tools out there for Code Veronica, but I couldn't find any. I would have happily just downloaded one instead of having to make one. There's great tools for RE1, 2, and 3. So here we go. Finally, we can throw these proofs into the plane. I was nervous, though. I'm like, please turn green. Please turn green. Please turn green. Please turn green. Yes! It's green! Now I can get into the dang plane. And when I was experimenting, once I got here, I was like, save state, save state. Because I wanted to see, like, does the game really need you to raise the bridge? Like, if you get the airport key and just go straight to that little elevator where it spits you out and you fight Tyrant, is Steve just like, oh, cool, we're good to go, and then he just flies through a bridge? I don't know. I really wanted that to happen, though, but it doesn't. I just wanted him to go right through the damn bridge. But you can see that I leave the lever there. The game doesn't require you to pick that up. Yeah. There's like these ideal moments where I'm like, it would be Resident Evil history for him to just fly straight through the bridge. I was assuming like maybe it would just play the cutscene like normal. It's not going to literally show him fly through a bridge because it's just a pre-made cutscene. But God, I was really hoping it would. Let's see if I show that menu I was talking about. I was second guessing myself. I think I do. Oh, look, there's the weapon not firing again. See? I just pan up at it, but it's it looks like when the submarine leaves. So like if you're looking to go get lunch or leave for the day or something, you have to go at a time when the submarine's going up. And that's the stuff that I obsess over. I love details that bring life into the environments. Even if it's something silly like that, where it's just a little board on the wall that says when the submarine leaves, like a bus schedule. I'm obsessed with that type of stuff, and I think that's why I love Resident Evil so much, because they do very good at world building and atmosphere, let alone the music and sounds. This game just needs more of those submarine schedule type things. I did actually have the lever in my inventory preloaded, and then I overrode it by mistake with the valve or something, getting ready for Antarctica. Oopsie. There, Steve. The bridge is up, bro. Are you happy? Now you don't have to crash the plane. Where did you even learn how to fly a plane? I gotta know, though. So, Steve's obviously a funny, whiny kind of character. Are there Steve fans out there? Please, in the comments, give some love for Steve. He's a young guy. He lost both of his parents. He's in prison for his dad. His dad's doing. Can we give this guy a break? But yeah, he's annoying. At this point, I'm feeling good. The self-destruct music's playing. I started getting nervous because I'm like, wait, does the 5-minute timer start when I enter this room, or does it start when I go into the elevator? So I was thinking, man, we're so close to figuring this dang Rockfort Island out. But luckily, boom. And then I'm like, is it supposed to start when the shutter shuts? I'm a nervous wreck, as you can see. Now, one thing I always think about is when I start giving myself weapons that the player's not supposed to have, one, is the game going to crash? They're not supposed to have it. But two, maybe enemies aren't coded to take damage from the weapons. Like, I don't know exactly how all that works. So, am I going to roll up to Tyrant and shoot him with the linear launcher and he just, like, brushes it off like dust? Like a cowboy? I don't know. Now, luckily, all the weapons seem to do damage to all the enemies, so that was no problem. But you know what I have to say? Like, I definitely ran into issues where this game doesn't let me progress, but I didn't have a single crash in this game. There wasn't one moment where I put an item in my inventory or used an item and the game just straight up crashed. It never crashed. I got stuck, like I said, like I try to go into the palace and I can't go down the stairs, but this is the most stable Resident Evil so far in Sequence Break. Resident Evil 2 crashes so much if you give yourself the wrong item, if you go down the wrong path. Like, especially the Claire side of the game. It crashes like crazy. This game is incredibly stable. I was actually talking to a buddy about that before I made this video about just how well polished this game is. Like all the collisions really well done. All the door triggers, item use. It's a very polished game. It runs very well. And I was pleasantly surprised that I didn't have to keep booting up the game and restarting because of crashes. There you go. And I did have to give myself the steering wheel. She couldn't do the air whoosh. She don't got the magic touch like Steve does, I guess. She had to use the old wheel. As you can see, the linear launcher just destroys Tyrant. It was no problem at all. Now, when we get to the other sections of the game, I don't have as much details around, like, oh, what if you go to this room and do this? Can you see this? Can you make this happen? Blah, blah, blah. Because I didn't really have to do much decoding, really. I could just give myself keys and roll. I had to do some unique problem solving just to simplify the routing, but it was really painless. Every section of the game after this is just buttery, easy. Not to say that there aren't some really funny surprises. Stick around to the end. There's some amazing stuff towards the end that you're going to love. All right, so we made Steve happy. We raised the bridge. Can we get out of here now? Although I'm not crazy about the plane being another place that's like boring and gray without any signage or anything. I get it, it's a military plane. But I do love this idea of this fight. Like fighting Tyrant in this contained space and then hitting with a catapult. That's a sick design. It kind of reminds me of when you can fight Nemesis in the train with Mikhail. There's no cool catapult thing, but he does get hit with a grenade, so that's cool. But just an enclosed, tight space. I know this is one of the points where you could get soft lock because you don't have herbs and stuff. You left them at the base, but you learn the hard way to stagger your saves, don't you? See, I never played this on Dreamcast. Let me know if you guys did. I skipped to the PS2 version, Code Veronica X, and I definitely wasn't staggering saves, and I got stuck here. I got stuck as Chris towards the end of the game, but you learn the hard way. By the time it made it to PS3, I was an older, wiser starfish. And there he is. I think this is a cool-ass fight. It does get tricky if you don't have the right ammo types, because he's very tough to dodge in this space. But look, boom. One, and done. I wasn't using like an SRT speedrunning tool to track HPs, but it would be very fun to see how much damage the linear launcher does. Because honestly, I thought it might just be a weapon that just says, like, if you shoot Alexia, end game. Like, it's not a complex weapon. It's just like, if you make contact with final Alexia, end game. But I guess if you can use it in the battle game, which I'm still on the fence if it's true or not, I think it is, then clearly there's more to the weapon than that. But here we are in Antarctica. I started by going through these double doors and going into the mining room to trigger the sequence where Steve starts to use the bulldozer thing and bust the pipe. And it worked. It let me go in there immediately and start that cutscene. But through experimentation, I realized something very cool. You don't have to do anything in Antarctica. You literally have to do one thing. And I'll let the game play out a little bit so we can see that. But yeah, I was going around a little bit just to see what I could do. And that was the first room I went, the mining room. This is another space where it's such a big room, it was cool to see in first person a little bit. So we give ourselves the mining key and go right to this room. No power room. No gas mask. And check this out. This was another moment where I'm like, God damn. Look at this. Oh, you got the valve with the octa? Boop. The room is gassed. You have the gas mask on. It was so sick to experience that. Like, for items to just show up in this cutscene that we didn't even go near. That's it. That's Antarctica. Done. Of course, we gotta fight a very cool enemy. He's not cool when you don't have enough ammo to shoot him, but snowy rooftop Nosferatu can smack your ass off the building. Multiple ways to kill him with alternative cutscenes. But guess what, guys? We have the linear launcher.
Claire, what are you doing? Let's go!
What are you doing? Where my Steve fans at? Let me hear you. What are we doing? Come on. It was very cool to use the sniper in other trial runs, because you only have it here. I guess if you don't use it, it stays in her inventory, right? So you could potentially use it. Look, I'm so fast with the linear launcher, I'm trying to leave the map before he's even dead. Needless to say, it took care of him. So now I'm thinking, okay, here's Chris. I start by thinking, like, what's the last thing we do to leave a map? And in this case, it was to get the halberd. Halberd. But I was worried, like, oh my gosh, we just had to do 40 minutes of gameplay with Claire on Rockfort Island. How is Chris gonna be? Like, is it even a sequence break at this point? If it's a 2-hour video? Check this out. So, for whatever reason, if you shoot the worm with the linear launcher, it keeps Chris in first person. And I did some testing, and it will keep him like that until you fire the weapon again. So you're just straight up in first person mode. I only tested it for a few rooms, so maybe if like a cutscene plays, it will fix it or something. But I was in full screen mode thinking like, whoa, that's a weird glitch. If you guys have any questions or things you want me to test, drop some comments to let me know. I get a lot of inspiration from the comments. In fact, at the beginning, like I said, there was a comment that said, like, the video would be more interesting if there was commentary. This is boring without it. So at first, it kind of like pissed me off. I was just waking up in the morning reading that. But then I was like, you know what? There's some valid criticism here. Some people do like a little bit of commentary just to hear some context and make it more entertaining. And some people don't. So why not give both? And honestly, this has been a lot of fun. We're 43 minutes in. This is cool. It's fun watching this back. You know, present day Starfish, just looking at past Starfish struggling through. Ha 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 ha. So if you haven't figured it out already, I already have the little halberd thing in my inventory, and I'm going down the elevator. So what do you think I'm doing next? Maybe I'm getting the battery on the floor. Nope. This is the whole Chris section. You show up, you go to this door, and it's over. I was just like so amazed. And like I said earlier, it's like, is just more work done at the beginning of a game? Is it just because there's more setup involved and you can't just keep having puzzles throughout the game? Like, I literally don't know why there's so much, like, why it's so weighted differently. We're 40 minutes into a Claire section of just the first quarter of a game, essentially, not exactly. And now every other part just takes, like, I don't know, 3 to 5 minutes total. I was just, like, completely amazed by that. I found this area more interesting between, like, going from Claire to Chris versus Rockfort Island going from Claire to Chris. I thought it was cool, like, getting into these pathways because of the ice and stuff. It was very clever. There's a cool dodge you can do for this, but I don't know it. I think you run to the side or something. Let's just blow the hunter up with the linear launcher. Now that we know that it just destroys everything. It kind of looks like the gun you use in Halo, like one of the machine guns. It's cool to get more time with it. I'm trying to think of weapons I'd like to play through with the game. Like, definitely the sniper rifle, the BOW rounds are interesting. In a test playthrough, I just stood by the elevator and was looking first person, waiting for the hunter to run down the hall at me. You know what, honestly, the scariest thing was when I was testing with the linear launcher? It's when you first person... Actually, it was with the sniper rifle. When you're first person fighting the worm, like, seeing his big, gnarly mouth, like, jumping right at you is terrifying. And seeing some of the zombies in Antarctica, their faces are very scary. Like, there's some really scary stuff in this game that I just missed because of the camera angles. So that's it for the Chris section there. We're back to Claire. Now, of course, I went into the Steve section on trial runs. And just tried to, like, I put invincible health on, invincibility, and I just blasted him with the linear launcher for like 10 minutes straight. He cannot die. Or his HP is just incredibly high to the point where it would just take so long. I'd have to use an HP tracker. But I don't know if he truly has infinite health or if it's just an extremely high number. Now, if you didn't guess by now, you can kind of foreshadow based on what items I have. We're literally playing as Claire right now, running up these stairs. She can use the dragonfly. That is insane. I don't know why the game allows us to do that. It might be like when we took over RE3 as Carlos and the game sort of thinks we're still Jill. I don't know. But it's amazing that we can play as Claire in this section. And it gets better, guys. What's this code again? W, Wumbo? The code is Veronica. Detonates. I'm sure I intentionally left the game pretty quiet, so I'm not fighting over it, speaking over it, but banger track right now. That was me making sure that I had my weapon ready to go, because there's such a short window for shooting Alexia this first time. But here we go. I don't know if you guys caught this in the non-commentary version, but literally it's Claire... Claire fighting for Claire's life. I think I was going to try to put it in the thumbnail, but it was too hard to, like, see. When I started to zoom in on it, it was getting distorted, but I wanted that to be the thumbnail so bad. Just, like, Claire getting chased by Alexia, and then Claire aiming a liner launcher at Claire. I also don't know if it's liner, linear. I've always said liner, or I kind of mix. And then I've said spinal in RE4. Spinal. That's my Philadelphia accent. Anyway, that's basically it. There's a couple cutscenes that you have to watch. But I hope this was fun and entertaining, and giving you guys a little bit of context on how I start to learn how to sequence break a game, understanding what items are mandatory to collect. And this did truly let me appreciate Code Veronica in a new way, using different weapons, skipping certain sections, and just trying to break the game in half. Thanks for watching, and let me know in the comments what you'd like to see next on my channel. Bye, everybody.